Okay, hello everybody. How you guys doing? My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. What's happening? I once again am streaming at a different time than my usual time because I'm going to be out of town this weekend. So thought I'd do a stream today rather than Saturday. But after this, we'll be back to our usual streaming schedule. So I don't expect there to actually be anybody on tonight, but that's okay. Probably should have sent out a notification saying that I was actually going to do this. Sorry about that. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much. Looks like there actually was a couple people. Okay. Yeah. We are going to be talking about Kanye West. So, full disclosure, I barely even know who Kanye West is, to be honest, right? I know who he is mainly because of his celebrity and all of the scandals and ridiculous things that he says and does. I don't think I've ever actually listened to a Kanye West song, right? Apparently his name is Ye now. Like, he took away the Kanye part, and he's just named Ye, like, Y-E. So the guy's name, his stage name is like, Yay! That's his name. It's just like, alright, well, free country, you can call yourself whatever you want. But, if you were to ask me to name a Kanye, I'm not calling his ass Ye. That's fucking stupid. I'm not doing it. So, I'm calling him Kanye. If you were to ask me to name a Kanye West song, I don't think I could actually do it. Is what I'm trying to say, right? So, but yeah, I mean, obviously he's one of the most famous people in the world, right? But it's like, if he didn't if he wasn't married to Kim Kardashian and if he wasn't in the news all the time for saying ridiculous things, I'd have no fucking clue who this guy is. It's like, whatever, I don't know. The music you kids listen to nowadays, I have no fucking clue about any of it. But apparently Kanye has been saying some very crazy and anti-Semitic things. Before we get into that, let's take a look at what we're working on. Here's our evil demon-looking guy. We are almost finished with him. I think we'll finish up this foot today, and then I'll have to get up off my ass and actually do this little chain over here. I'm kind of avoiding that. Let's work on this. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. Have to get in the habit of asking people to do that in advance. Anyway, so yeah, Kanye is one of these people who, first off, I feel a little bad picking on him because he is bipolar, right? And apparently does not want to take his medicine, right? Which is one thing that you often hear from bipolar individuals. They will say things like, well, the medicine makes me feel like I'm not me, It gets away, and especially if you're an artist. Like, I've heard this from other people, like, it takes away your creative spark, that kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, whatever kind of medicine they give you can be a little mind-numbing, but that's what it's there for. It's there for your own good. Bipolar disorder is like it's a mental disorder, right? And it's nothing to be ashamed of. Millions of people out there have it, and they live with it every day, right? But part of living with it, part of managing with it, is you got to take your meds. And apparently, Mr. Kanye, Mr. Yay. Anyway, God, it's so fucking stupid. Is one of those people that doesn't want to take his medicine. And the thing is that he's sufficiently rich and powerful enough so that nobody's going to tell him to do it because because he's rich. Rich people get to do whatever the fuck they want, right? And all the people in his orbit, work for him, and they're not going to fucking tell him. And it seems like anybody who tells him something that he doesn't like, he just ends up fucking talking shit about him on the internet, saying that they're controlled by by, like, you know, the Illuminati, Jewish cabal, or whatever. Which brings us to what Mr. Kanye is in hot water over recently. So, he made some anti-Semitic comments recently, a string of anti-Semitic comments. And one thing to remember is that, yeah, it didn't really hit the news until he got banned off of Twitter. But it actually started a little bit before that. So, what exactly happened, right? Well, so he's good friends with Diddy, you know, Sean Diddy Combs, right? And what started this entire little kerfuffle off is that Kanye posted on Instagram some things about one of his friends, described one of his friends as a Jew, and what he said was he's a Jew just like all so-called black people, right? So, to not put words in the guy's mouth, right, let's just show exactly what he posted. Let me go down here and go to my live streaming, and I will put it in the chat for y'all. And this is exactly what he posted, okay? So I don't want to take words out of his mouth, any shit like that. This is it. I'm sorry to my friend John John Toto, I don't know, founder of APC, for not standing by him when he got so-called canceled. I don't know who that person is or what they did. I would be nowhere, no space where, in fashion without him. He is my mentor and my friend, and he's a Jew just like all so-called black people. So this is when he posted this first thing, and it's like, what the fuck is this guy talking about, right? You know, why did he put that last line there? He's my friend and mentor, and he's a Jew just like all so-called black people. What is he fucking talking about, right? So later on, a few days later after this, let's turn that off. What happened is that he posted a Twitter exchange. He posted on Instagram a tweet, or not a tweet, but a text exchange between him and Diddy, right? And here is that. Let me put that down in the thing for you guys also. Let me copy that. Put that down in the chat. There you go. That's what we're going to look at next. And turn on the window again. So here's another text, and this is the conversation between him and Diddy Combs, right? Kanye is in, can I make this bigger? I can't make that bigger, can I? Is there a way to zoom in on this? I guess I can just sort of... Can I zoom in on it? Control... Nope, it doesn't zoom... God damn it. Zoom in on the goddamn picture. I guess it doesn't zoom in on the picture. But anyway, if you guys can actually read that... can I make that? No, I can't make it any bigger. The blue one is Kanye. Basically says, I don't like our conversation. I'm selling these teas. I guess he's selling t-shirts or something. Nobody gets in between me and my money. This is my grandmother texting you now. Right? My grandfather texting you now. Never call me with no bullshit like that again unless you're ready to green light me. Right. So anyway, they're talking back and forth about some stuff. And then you can see that they are very good friends with each other. I'm sure you could read that. I'm not going to read that myself. Right? And, it ends, there's a strange anti-Semitic comment here, right? So this is Diddy here. Send me an address. Let's stop playing these internet games and don't feel threatened. You'll be fine. Just love, right? Kanye responds, this ain't a game. I'm going to use you as an example to show the Jewish people that told you to call me that No one can threaten or influence me. Told you this was war, now gone, but get you some business. Right. So, second mention of Jews and the Jewish people, kind of in the context like they're controlling Sean Diddy Combs there, right? Kind of what it sounds like a little bit. So that happened. Then a few days later, he had his infamous tweet, which has since been deleted. Let me just move this over here. This tweet was gone. I couldn't find it, so I just took a screenshot of it. Let me make it bigger. There you go. This is the tweet, because Twitter went ahead and cut his access after this, right? Suspended his account. So this is Ye. God, fucking so stupid. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, all in caps. Funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic, in caps, because black people are actually Jew. Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. What the fuck is this guy talking about? Alright, this has confused a lot of people. A lot of people got very angry over this, which is, to be expected, because that's sounding kind of anti-Semitic, right? Sounding a little bit like Ye there is starting to talk about the Jew, the JQ, right? Starting to get a little bit of the, JQ going here. Starting to believe some tinfoil hat shit, right? So then he goes a few days later on Tucker Carlson and has this batshit interview, which he digs this hole even deeper, right? And he goes absolutely fucking crazy. So before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've uncovered so far, right? Some of the things he's talking about. When he says things like, for example, that he can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jewish. He just says black people are actually Jew, not Jewish, but I'm assuming he meant black people are Jewish, right? What is that even from? What is this a reference to? Well, this comes from a sort of fringe religious movement called the Black Israelite movement, right? And what this is that, just to give a little bit of history, right? The whole black people are Jews thing, right? Black Israelism is sort of a, hey, Sean Illibud, how you doing? He never recovered from that time he slammed his head into that metal sign. I don't know what you're talking about, but I will look it up. It wouldn't doubt me. I don't doubt that he may have suffered a head injury in the past, which is fucking him up, because that would explain a lot. Seems to me that he seemed to be much more coherent in times past, and as time goes on, he's just fucking deteriorating. Anyway, so that comes from the whole black people are Jews thing comes from a movement called the Black Israelite movement, right? And this is sort of like a fringe religion. One thing to remember is that Black Israelites are not actually, it's not Judaism. It's actually a Christian sect, right? They're actually Christians. They're followers of Jesus Christ. So, unlike, real Jews who are, followers, adherents of Judaism and do not believe Jesus is the Savior. Black Israelites actually believe Jesus Christ is the Savior, right? So that's an important distinction. And what their central tenet is that modern-day African Americans are the true inheritors of the ancient Israelites, the mantle of the ancient Israelites, as in they're the actual supposed direct descendants of the ancient Israelites, which is bullshit. Right? Just it's complete bullshit is what it is. Now I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to be. I'm just saying that there's no rational basis in fucking reality for that to even be true at all. And I'm not saying that there's no such thing as black Jewish people, because there are, and etc., etc., and who really knows what happened to the 12 tribes of Israel, whatever. I'm not making any judgments on that whatsoever. But to say that, that African Americans are really the, direct descendants of ancient Israelites is just factually incorrect. It just is, right? It's like, there's just no actual basis in reality for that. Anyway, so Black Israelites, the movement, or otherwise known as the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, was started at the end of the 19th century by two former slaves. One was, their names, I got it right here, Bishop William Sanders Crowdy and Bishop William Christian. These were two guys that supposedly both independently had a revelation from God that black people in the United States were the true inheritors of, the mantle of Israel, right? Remember so in this case, Israel is, a title somewhat. Like if you, in the Bible, right, there's a part where, Abraham wrestles with an angel, right? Was it Abraham that wrestles with angel? No, I gotta look that up. Was it, wrestles with angel? Jacob. It was Jacob. Okay, so Jacob in the Bible, right, in Genesis, wrestles with an angel, right? And after this is when God decides that his progeny will be his chosen people, and he gives them the title of Israel, right? Essentially, I'm really I'm given the Cliff Notes version of this, right? But basically, Israel meaning chosen people. And so, according to the Black Hebrew Israelites, that mantle has been transferred to African Americans, right? And they will even go on to say, some pseudo-history saying that, that modern African Americans are the actual genetic descendants of ancient Israelites. And that's the part that just has no truth to it. It's made up, made up bullshit, right? Anyway, so these guys supposedly both had this revelation independently of each other from God himself. And that is sort of the central tenet being that, black people are the true Israelites, which means that the Jewish people, modern day Jewish people, are pretenders. And this is where the anti-Semitism part comes in, right? Now, something to keep in mind is that most Black Hebrew Israelite churches are harmless. They're just churches like any other church, right? But there is a somewhat of an extremist fringe to some of these groups, right? And I wanna emphasize that it's a fringe. It's not all of them. They're not like the actual Black Hebrew Israelite movement isn't any more dangerous than any other church out there. They're probably, they're conservative, and they stand against things like abortion rights and shit like that. But every church does that kind of thing. So in that sense, like they're against gay rights, they're against trans rights, they're against abortion rights, and blah 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 shit like that. But in that sense, they're kind of on par for every other church in America, and so they're not any different. But there are some extremist sort of elements on the fringes there, right? And this is when you start getting into things like black supremacy, right? So these are not like the what you would call Hotep people, like no, these are not that, or these are not it's somewhat related, but this is distinct from, say, like the Nation of Islam or something, like people that believe in like Yaqub and that kind of thing. But one of the tenets of the extremist sort of black supremacy wing of Black Hebrew Israelites is that, first off, the all white people are manifestations of pure evil. Right. And this is kind of where the term white devil was sort of, it wasn't really coined by these guys, but this is, where that came from, right? It's sort of related to that sort of white people are all evil and bad and shit like that. And also the modern day Jewish people are pretenders. They're imposters. Right? And we are the real Jew, we're the real Israel, and they're not, and that must mean, since they're imposters, that must mean that they're being tricked by Satan and are also evil. And this is why you get a lot of anti-Semitism coming out of the Black Hebrew Israelites, right? Like the extremist fringe of them. And I want to emphasize that because there are people that belong to such churches who are not anti-Semitic. We're not any more than any other church. Like, it's kind of like Christianity itself has a very anti-Semitic tinge to it, especially like modern sort of Baptist, like evangelical Christianity. The kind of people who support Israel in the state of Israel and stuff like that, but only in so much that they need Israel to survive so that the end times can come, so that God can kill them all, that kind of thing. Like, there is that sort of, that same kind of undercurrent under like mainstream Christianity in general. Right? But but what I'm saying is the majority of Black Hebrew Israelites are not any more anti-Semitic than any other church. They're not more, there's no like the black supremacist thing is definitely a fringe group, the same way that white supremacists are a fringe group, even though white supremacists are like gaining in power seemingly over the last decade or so, right? So I want to emphasize that though, it's very much a fringe, but it's a dangerous fringe, because you could see why such a religion that preaches what these guys preach would be appealing to a group of people who feel, that they are oppressed, right? Especially in the, say, end of the 19th century, right? I mean, we have made pretty big strides in our modern day societies in order to get some semblance of equality. I mean, we're not there. Obviously, there's lots of problems, especially when it comes to the African American community, right? Systemic racism, and just look at the demographics of modern American prisons, and you can see something's wrong. Something's wrong, and some of that has to do with racial bias inherent in our society, like ingrained at the institutional levels, right? In order for our society to become so polarized. But imagine what it was like in 1887, 1893, when these guys were out there and this religion was just forming. Imagine you were a black person living in the United States in 1888, right? I mean, this is like, fuck. Black people had no rights back then, right? And, they were getting the shitty end of the stick, left, right, and center, and nobody was doing shit to help them, right? So imagine you meet some preachers who come up and start preaching that, you're not inferior. You're not part of some inferior race that is cursed by fucking Ham or whatever, right? Like, you're not any of this stuff. In fact, you're the chosen people, right? you can see why someone who's downtrodden would find comfort and, in that message. Like, hey, I mean something. I'm worth something, right? So it's perfectly understandable why religious movements like that come along. I mean, and that's why you have things like, the Nation of Islam, for example, right? That's another example of that, and this is why you have other religious movements around the world that appeal to the downtrodden, in various other societies, right? But anyway, that's the thing about this. But, they were also not the only weird religious movement to sort of glom on to the, and try to claim the mantleship of the chosen people. There's also equivalent white religious movements that do the exact same thing. There's a group called the British Israelites that believe in essentially the same thing as these guys, except that they're white. And they believe that the British people are the true inheritors of God's blessing that was bestowed upon, given to Jacob, and that we're the true Israelites, and also the existing Jewish people are pretenders and shit like that. So it's like they weren't the first ones to come up with this sort of wacky ass fucking theology. I mean, it's all bullshit as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, they're mostly harmless, but there is a black supremacist fringe that can sometimes result in sometimes do violent acts, right? Case in point, there was, so Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother, Alberta Williams King, was murdered by someone who belonged to one of these churches in 1974. It was a young man who was 23 years old at the time, and he belonged to a church called the Hebrew Pentecostal Church of the Living God, which was I don't know if they're still around or not. I didn't have time to see if they still exist, but they were a black Hebrew Israelite church. And the preacher at that church had just recently been giving a series of sermons where he called black civil rights leaders in league with the devil around that time. And it's like, well, young guy goes, he's got a couple of marbles rolling around upstairs. Here's some hate, speeches and stuff like that, some hate sermons, and then decides to take the law into his own hands, That's not the only example, but, I mean, there's another example, probably the most famous recent example was from 2019, where a couple of guys who professed this stuff, who belonged to the black supremacist wing of this religious movement, went into a grocery store in New Jersey called... It was called the JC Kosher Supermarket in New Jersey, and shot the Jewish owner of the store, and then killed a policeman, and then shot a shopper at the store who happened to be Jewish, and then also one other employee who wasn't Jewish. And basically, hate crime is what it was. They went into a place where they knew Jewish people were and wanted to kill Jewish people. And both of these guys ended up dying in a shootout with the police, right? Now, the black Israelite churches around that area, for their part, came out and condemned this violence. So, I mean, they want to make that distinction that, they're not promoting hate, but... The Southern Poverty Law Center has identified some 144 churches and other affiliated organizations that believe in the black Hebrew Israelite philosophy that they've labeled as hate groups because of their anti-Semitic, rhetoric and teachings and stuff like that. So... Now, I know for a lot of us on the left, it's kind of hard to understand. It's kind of hard to put these together because, especially if you look through politics with a identity politics lens. And this is one, I think this should be a good lesson to all of us, that identity politics has limits. Identity politics definitely is not all that it's cracked up to be. And people don't automatically, live and believe things and vote and etc. based solely on their race or their skin color. It really, there's too many factors involved. And because when, somebody on the left like me, it's surprising to hear shit like this. You go, wow, why is there so much anti-Semitism in the black community? You know what I mean? Like, because this is stuff that we associate, all of us on the left, we associate anti-Semitism with white supremacy. Because they, let's be real, white supremacists are very vocal about it. And when you hear about Jewish people being murdered in gun violence and shit like that, murdered in mass shootings and stuff like that, who's the first person what's the first vision that comes into your mind of who the perpetrator is? You don't think black Hebrew Israelite. You think fucking goose-stepping, skin-headed Nazi, right? And it can be surprising sometimes, and this is something that, we on the left need to come to terms with, the limits of IDPOL, right? Identity politics, the limits of that. And we need to really understand that it's like, that thinking of politics and thinking of marginalized groups and stuff through that lens has a massive blind spot. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, gotta understand people are actually, real people don't conform to what you think they should conform to. Not more often than not, they don't. That's just handy for predicting things like fucking elections and shit like that. It doesn't really do much to help sort of like predict the behaviors of actual real people in the real world. So something I wanted to pick up. Anyway, how does all this shit relate to Kanye West? Because that's sort of the roots of what he's talking about when he says black people are the real Jew. That's what he said in his tweet there. Black people are actually Jew also. So this is what he's talking about. Somewhere along the line, he's been exposed to this, black Hebrew Israelite shit, right? And the thing with religions is that they are, especially when you have mental illness, it's very easy to, the mental illness of the type that Kanye West has, which is bipolar disorder. It becomes very easy for somebody like that to get obsessed with certain things, like conspiracy theories, like religions, right? I mean, that's almost a stereotype, the crazy fucking tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist who's hearing voices in his head and thinks it's the fucking Russians beaming microwave signals and shit from satellites, when it's like, really, he's just fucking crazy. He needs help, right? He's crazy and he needs help, and he's not taking his fucking medicine. That shit's happening to Kanye West, and it almost makes you feel bad about it because nobody's helping him. Here's a man that needs help that is not taking his medicine, right? Knows that he has mental illness, he's not taking his medicine, and the people around him are not holding him accountable for it because he's rich. He's rich and he's famous, and when you're rich and famous, you get to do whatever the fuck you want. And people will just kiss your ass. That's what's actually fucking happening, right, with Kanye West, is that he's just surrounded with fucking enablers who are putting up with his bullshit because he's rich and famous, and Kanye West is a genius, although I don't know why the fuck he's like such a genius. Like, wasn't this guy begging Elon Musk for money not that long ago? I remember reading something about Kanye West begging Elon Musk to give him some, or was it Jeff Bezos? I don't know. He was begging one of those guys to give him some money because he wanted to do, in his words, quote unquote, dope shit or something. So it's like, how the fuck is that? I mean, I guess his music must be good. I don't know. Right? But it doesn't sound like a fucking genius to me. Like, kind of a genius would understand, why anti-Semitism is bad. Let's see, Sean Nillabud, check out the Black Scientologists. Black Scientologists, huh? I have never heard of that. I will definitely check that out. Scientology itself. Let's read some comments here for a little bit, and then I want to get into, because I want to play a Candace Owens fucking video. Right. But yeah, Scientology, shit, don't even get me started on Scientology. A quick little aside here. When I was 18, I had a friend named Matt, right, who, Matt is actually a rock star now. He's in a band called the Active Set. Anyway, I went to high school with this guy. He's a really, really nice guy. Incredibly, I haven't seen him in like 20 years, but super nice guy, right? Anyway, but he's a Scientologist. At least he was at the time. I don't know if he still is. And, so I, went out, and, I didn't know what it was and all that, so I went with them to one of their places and took the personality test that they give you, right? And, I felt a little fishy about it going in because it kind of sounded like bullshit. I was only 18, so what do I know? But I took the test and all that, and they come back with the results of the test. And they basically said I was suicidal. And it's like, oh, you're fairly stable, but you're suicidal. And I was like, suicidal? The fuck you talking? I'm not suicidal, right? The personality test that you take when you go to one of those audit centers or whatever is basically just a recruiting tool, is what it is. It's not an actual measure of your personality, right? They have questions like questions on the test where it was stuff like, do you feel sometimes, when you see people like in a room talking, that they may be talking about you, right? And that was an example question. It's like, well, yeah, if you're in a room and there's a bunch of people talking and they're looking at you and shit, you might think, oh, are they talking about me? Whatever. So you write yes, stuff like that, right? Or another question is like, do you like it when you're the center of attention? And then another one, do you like it sometimes when you're not the center of attention? And it's like, well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. And it's like, it's the same question but inverted, and then later on in the test, right? And essentially all these questions are just fucking meaningless. It doesn't mean anything, because every example I've seen online of people taking this fucking personality test it's all the same thing. It all comes out, and every single one of them says that you're unstable and that you're going to commit suicide and all this shit, and you need help, and you need our help, right? That was the first fucking red flag. The second red flag is that they wouldn't let me leave until I bought something, right? They wanted me to sign up for 11 sessions of auditing, but at $250 at the time. This is like fucking the 90s, and I didn't have $250, but I did have $28, and so I bought a workbook, and they wouldn't let me leave until I fucking bought something. That was the other thing. I'm like, all right, this is obvious bullshit, right? Years go by. I get mail from Scientology, right? I move like fucking 6 times. Every time I move, they find out where I live and they keep sending me junk mail. I moved just last fucking March. They found out, they sent the mail to me now. Which tells me that they must have people whose job it is to keep track of every single person that they have in the database and send them fucking junk mail. Right? In the beginning, they called me too, constantly. Hey, why don't you come check us out? Hey, why don't you come down? Why don't you? They constantly fucking called me, and I was telling them, stop calling me, and they would keep calling. I'm like, you guys, stop fucking. One time, I got in an argument with one of the dudes that called me because I compared the shit to Amway, and he got all pissed off, and he was like, you're fucked up. Like, he started screaming at me and shit. This isn't about selling soap. This is about helping you. You're fucked up. And I'm like, I'm fucked up. Who the fuck is calling on the phone, like, using bad language and shit? It's like, don't ever fucking call me again. Right. And even after that, they still called. It's like, I think the only reason they don't call me is because they don't have my current phone number. Hopefully they never get it, because I don't want to get calls from these motherfuckers anymore. But I still get junk mail from them, and it's like, the place to take them off of the waiting list apparently is only open 2 days, like, a week and shit. Like, it's open, like, Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 2:30 in the afternoon, and it's bullshit. So it's basically, there's no way to get off of their fucking waiting list. Like, Like I've read online, their mailing list, excuse me, not their waiting list. I've read online about like people trying to fucking stop the junk mail, and it's impossible. They won't. Even like under threat of lawsuits, like they won't fucking do it. So I just let it pile up, and I think one day maybe when I get a huge fucking box of it, I might send it back to them, but I don't want to pay for it. So I'm thinking maybe I might just like, I don't know, find some way of getting like some way, if I could like make them pay for it and then send it to them, like if I could get like a self-addressed stamped envelope and then, somehow finagle it so that you put that on a huge ass package so that they have to pay the $30 shipping fee and I could ship all the shit back to them or something. I don't know. Something like that. Thinking of some kind of like ridiculous petty revenge. So anyway, long story short, fuck Scientology. Let's read a couple more. Kanye was trying to dodge the paparazzi and clanged into a sign. Ouch. Okay. I'll have to check that out. Sean Nillabud, it is still Catholic doctrine that the Jews are God's chosen people. Oh, yeah. Well, I think it is the church is considered Israel, right? In Catholic, the Catholic Church. Like that's basically what it is. So yeah, I mean, they still believe that the Jews are chosen people, but like Israel is actually the followers of like Christ. If I could be wrong about that, but I think that's what it is when it comes to Catholics. Like it's the mantle has gone to the church, so it's not really a people so more. It's the people, like basically the church followers. But I'd have to look that up, to be honest. I don't really I can't really remember, but like salvation apparently is reserved for the church, if I remember right. Let's see. Black GOP makes less sense to me. Yes, it does. That is the one thing, and that's something that we got to remember, right? Because you think that you would think that if people voted in their best interest, then why would anybody who's not a white wealthy businessman ever vote for the Republicans? And not only minorities, but even people like white people who aren't fucking rich or own businesses. Like, why would they ever vote for the Republicans? Like, they do absolutely fucking nothing for you. Right? And that's another thing that we gotta remember. It's like, well, we look at, each of us looks at the world through a lens, right? And it can get really easy to forget that your lens is not all encompassing. Right. Especially like, when you get some higher education, you read a couple of books, and, you realize that most people are not politically savvy. Most people don't pay attention to politics. Most people like really have no interest about what the fuck is going on. And they usually, okay, you know what, I'm making this too detailed. There has to be less detail in this, like, that most people are just interested in just living their lives and fucking shit like that. And don't really give a fuck about it. It's like, all right, well, whatever, whoever is president or whoever's my senator, it doesn't change my daily life very much. And that's the thing about it is like, well, it fucking does. It does. It changes this shit a lot. Who's in charge matters, but most people don't think of it like that. Most people just think of it as, civics, like it's school, And it can be hard to remember that it's like, well, our lens, we frame the world in a certain way because of the way that our upbringing and our education and shit like that. And the majority of people don't frame the world that same way, and so it can be surprising to see that there are black people who unironically vote for Republicans, right? Like, who vote for them and actually truly don't see the inherent racism in the Republican Party, like, that kind of thing. They don't see, or else they ignore it, or else they think it's not a problem, or else they think that it's just, this is just the fringe of the Republican groups and not part of, like, ingrained into their fucking, like, political like, you know, political fucking philosophy, which it is. Like, racism is racism is part and parcel of being part of the GOP. Like, has been for fucking decades, you know, shit like that. Like, it can be hard for us to understand that, because it's like, well, you know, we've read different things, we've learned different things, we have a different background, and, you know, so part of dealing with that, I think, is educating people to, you know, our point of view. And that's, it can be hard to understand. It can be hard to say, like, because you would think that, well, if you're a black person, you know, you would automatically have come to this same conclusion, and all you have to do is pay attention. And it's like, well, no, you know, everybody has different influences, and I don't know. Anyway, going off on a bit of a tangent, let's get back to Kanye West here. Lewis the Hedgehog, yes, I'm still alive. Thank you so much. Let's get back to yeah. Oh wait, did I like go off for a second there or something? Did I stop streaming for a minute? You mean you're still live? Okay. Sorry, I'm going off on tangents and shit. Anyway, let's get back to Kanye West, because I want to look at a Candace West video here. So, getting back to our main story here, right? After Kanye goes on Twitter, says DEFCON 3, shit like that, he then goes on Tucker Carlson and does this batshit insane interview where he digs a hole even deeper. Not going to open this for now, but I'll put it down in the chat for you guys. Here is this item that I just put in the chat is a link to it's a link to a page where it shows all of the things that they cut out of Kanye West's interview with Tucker Carlson, right? So the shit they left in was pretty bad. You know, he says a couple of anti-Semitic things. The stuff they cut out is like even like worse, you know? First off, they cut out a segment where he said he was vaccinated, because Fox News is still, you know, Fox is still fucking like catering to the anti-vax assholes, right? Secondly, the stuff they cut out kind of shows Kanye is off his rocker, you know? Because he just sort of babbles and babbles and babbles and goes on and starts talking about all types of unrelated shit, and even digs the hole a little deeper with the anti-Semitism. Starts claiming that one of his friends was you know, basically worked to death by his Jewish controllers, right? But he does explain a little bit more about what he actually means when he says, you know, Jewish people. And what he's talking about in that interview with Tucker Carlson is basically says that, well, every black person he knows is controlled by Jewish people, right? In some way. And he's talking about, like, say, you know, they have a manager. You know, like if they're musicians, they have a manager who's Jewish. And one thing that he brings up is a company that he started, apparently, or that he had a controlling, that he was like heavily invested in. And then one of Jared Kushner's brother, I think, something like that, like just bought a controlling share in his company, and that pissed him off. You know, it's like, why did this guy just buy a controlling share of this company that I had to work in order to, like, you know, completely forgetting the fact that he's also super fucking rich, right? And it's not like Kanye West, like, you know, worked at this company for like 20 years building it up out of nothing. It's like, no, he just fucking invested in it himself. He didn't, like, actually build the shit either. You know, but it was stuff like that. Like, so basically that's where he's getting at. Basically saying, oh, you know, but he doesn't identify these people for what they are, which are capitalists. You know, Jared Kushner's brother or whatever. Or I think it's either his brother or his cousin. I don't know. I'm not going to open the link because I don't want to watch the video. But, you know, what he is a capitalist, a venture capitalist, and that's what they do. They buy shares of companies, right? And they venture capitalists buy and sell companies, and the ones that they make money from, great, and the ones they don't make money from, they cannibalize and sell off, you know? shut it down, liquidate them, take away all their assets, lay everybody off, and fucking extract the wealth. That's what these guys do. People like fucking, a good example of that is Mitt Romney. That's like Mitt Romney's occupation. That's what Mitt Romney does. He goes and buys, along with Bain Capital, buys corporations, saddles them with a shitload of debt, extracts all the fucking money from them, and lays everybody off, makes out like a fucking bandit. It's basically modern day corporate piracy. That's what these guys do for a living. But instead of, identifying capitalism as the problem, Kanye West is instead blaming it on Jewish people. Right? That's another one of those blinders, his lens on reality has been curtailed. Because as someone who's mentally ill, he's latching on to conspiracy theories and weird-ass religions, instead of taking his medicine. And, if you take his fucking medicine, he'd probably understand how all of this is bullshit. I mean, he'd probably still believe in some fringe things, but he'd probably be able to identify a lot easier when people are bullshitting him. Right? But he's not doing that, and nobody in his orbit has the balls in order to fucking make him do it, So this is why Kanye West is melting down recently. Anyway, so Candace Owens came out defending him. Keep in mind, a few days before this interview happened, they were both seen at a fashion show wearing a White Lives Matter t-shirts, right? So, kind of makes you wonder. It's like, well, hey, where's Kanye West getting all this anti-Semitic shit from anyway, right? And seeing how he's hanging out with Candace Owens, Candace Owens is a little bit of an anti-Semite herself, kind of makes you wonder. So here we go. Let me go ahead and open this up. This is, let's see here. Let me just move this over here. This is from her YouTube channel. I sort of fast-forwarded it a little bit to where she starts talking about Kanye West here. Let's turn on the window. Let's make this window smaller so that YouTube does not kick my stream. And then we can make that full screen. So I skipped ahead a little bit because she started this off with this sort of... Now, I've only watched about 5 minutes in, and I don't know how much further we'll get, right? She starts off with a sort of speech about cheap people in her life, right? Which is cringe as fuck. But basically saying, if I were to call a Jewish person cheap, that would be bad, even though the two cheapest people in my life, one of them happens to be Jewish. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. So we're going to skip all that cringe shit and just start at about 2 minutes in. And this is Candace Owens defending Kanye. Is Kanye West anti-Semitic? So, I should put the link down into the... Well, just search for it on YouTube. I'll put the link later. Anyway, here it is.
Of course, a few paces ago when I said my husband, who was a devout Catholic, is cheap, it wasn't problematic when I said Savannah, who is a Protestant, is cheap. But God forbid, you say that a Jewish person is cheap. Even if it's factually true, the entire world implodes.
So, yeah, that was kind of touching up on what she said there. She's basically what she's doing right there is equating hate speech to free speech, is what she's doing, right? See, because it's not the fact that if you call a Jewish person cheap, that automatically makes you an anti-Semite. It's the fact that is a stereotype which has been around for literal centuries, which is often used by anti-Semites in order to spread hate and, about Jewish people. That's the difference there. So you have your Jewish friend, you call him a cheap bastard. Obviously, you're not an anti-Semite if this is your friend. But if you're spreading fucking hate and fear about the cheap, greedy, money-grubbing Jews who are out there using space lasers to fucking burn down California or some bullshit. That's actual anti-Semite. And so that's actual, like, anti-Semitic. And this is, of course, you know, and Candace Owens is not making the distinction between these two things because her entire job is to muddy the waters when it comes to this type of stuff and make people feel bad for, you know, rejecting people for being racist. That's kind of what Candace Owens' job is. She's sort of like an apologist, like a racist apologist. Like, it's okay if white people hate you. It's okay if, because there's no such thing as systemic racism. No, there's, you know, the fact that, you know, black people go to prison more often than white people for the exact same crime. No, that's totally not systemic racism. That has nothing to do with it whatsoever. The fact that cops arrest black people way more than they arrest white people and shoot black people way more than they shoot black people, it's not racism at all. In fact, it's actually black people's fault that happens. Like, that's her job. That's how she makes her money, is by basically, you know, giving white people the A-OK to say this shit out loud. You know, that's what she does. So just keep all that in mind. That's why I skipped the first 2 minutes. Anyway, moving on.
You know what I'm talking about. You know where I'm going with this. When I received a text message, the first one, that asked me, is Kanye West anti-Semitic? And then came in another text message. Somebody screenshot and sent me what Kanye West said and goes, is this real? Is this real? My first instinct was to go, what did he actually say? Right? It wasn't to go, oh my gosh, Kanye West hates Jewish people. I know that's not true, obviously, because I'm friends with him and I am friends with his Jewish friends. My instinct was to go, what did he say that is being misconstrued? Now, why would my instinct be to believe
that is being misconstrued? What did he say that is being misconstrued? Okay, well, you know, yes, you should examine for yourself whenever somebody says something. Whenever somebody gets canceled in the media or whatever for being racist or being sexist or being homophobic, whatever, yes, you should go see what they're actually saying and find the context and ensure that what they're saying is not, you know, being taken out of context. You should, everybody should make, you know, that's just par for the course here, right? Pretty sure the context for Kanye West is that he thinks Jewish people are part of some sort of cabal that is controlling all of the famous and rich black men in the world and also just the world itself. Pretty sure that's the context because, you know, that's what he fucking said, right? So that's exactly what he fucking said. That's what he said during the, you know, Tucker Carlson interview. That's what his tweets allude to. And Candace Owens now is going to try to find some way of basically telling us that what Kanye actually said is not what he really means. So let's see. Let's see how she's going to... I haven't watched past this point now, so let's see how she does it.
Believe that he was being taken out of context or misconstrued? Well, maybe because I'm Candace Owens. And that actually happened to me. It was actually one of the most horrific times throughout my career. Here's the story, and I'm going to remind you because you know that it culminated in me appearing in front of Congress and actually having a congressman, Ted Lieu, smear me as anti-Semitic. So I went on a flight. I was traveling with my buddy, Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, this had to do with the Republican, like the GOP brought Candace Owens up in front of like fucking like Congress to like testify about some shit, and then one of the congressmen took out his phone and like fucking basically played a quote of Candace Owens basically like fucking defending Hitler. You know what? Let me look that up. I've got that here somewhere. Let me look up. Let's see, Candace Owens, Congress, Hitler. Here it is. Here it is. Okay, let me put this in the chat for you guys. Why don't we take a side note and watch this. So this is C-SPAN, Yeah, Representative Ted Lieu plays recording of Candace Owens' statement on Adolf Hitler. All right. So let's see here.
In congressional hearings, the minority party gets to select its own witnesses. And of all the people that Republicans could have selected, they picked Candace Owens. I don't know Miss Owens. I'm not going to characterize her. I'm going to let her own words do the talking. So I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of a statement she made about Adolf Hitler.
I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. Problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German.
Look how pissed off she is.
All right, so
Look how mad she was. Wait. So let's rewind that a little bit. Because you can see, yeah, so this is her own words where she's like, you know, Hitler, basically fucking defending Hitler and defending nationalism, right? And, you know, leaving out the white part. You know, she's not that obtuse, right? She left out the white nationalism part. But look at her face. Look at her face while Ted Lieu was playing this. Look how pissed off she is.
Definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist.
She's like, look at that. As soon as she said Hitler, her eyes just go, oh fuck. And then now she's sitting there going, you son of a bitch. Like, thinking in her head, how is she gonna get out of this one? What is she gonna say? Right? It's like, oh, he fucking found like me defending Adolf Hitler. Look at this guy over here. This dude behind her. He's just like totally suspicious. Like looking at her with one eye like, Candace, what the fuck you talking about? She's mad as fuck.
But if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. Problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German.
Yep. That's, you know, it's all fine. Yeah, as long as, you know, you keep the fascism in your own country. It's totally fine. As long as you kill all the Jews in your own country, that's totally fine. As long as you want to go to other countries, oh, I don't know, like say invade Poland or something. Oh, that's when it gets bad. Yeah, okay. So this is who fucking Candace Owens is, right? Candace Owens is fucking like, she's anti-Semitic herself. So yeah, that actually happened. Oh, he tried to smear me. How the fuck do you smear somebody with your own words? That's the other thing. He didn't, you know, when you smear someone is when you say some shit that's untrue about them, you know? Or you, like, misrepresent something they say in such a way that makes them look bad. How the fuck did he misrepresent, you know, Congressman Lieu there? How did he misrepresent what she said? He played her own words for her right there. That's not a smear. Okay, you can't smear somebody with their own fucking words. So, anyway. Moving on, you know, let's see what she has to say, though. I don't want to completely cut her out.
And we went to London, and I was giving a long talk, and we were talking about global affairs, talking about socialism, talking about eventual communism, and talking about just the state of things all across the world throughout the Trump era. And somebody in the audience rose their hand and they asked a question about the word nationalism, something that I think we need to embrace. We need to take care of our...
Well, okay, you know what? I was going to skip this, but let's see where she goes with this. Let's see where she's going.
Nation first. That is really what America first means, right? We need to make sure Americans are being taken care of before we decide that we need to fix what's going on in Ukraine. Pretty simple concept. And a woman or a man raised his hand and asked me a question, Candace.
Yeah, that's not what America first means, right? America first, she's talking about Charlie Kirk's organization, right? Like Toilet Paper USA or whatever, America First. Like, is that what she means? That's not what America First actually means. America First is basically a fascist organization, right? I mean, that's where they got the fucking name from. The America First name comes from, I mean, you guys know this. We've talked about it before, but The America First name comes from basically a silver shirt fucking organization in the 1940s, a pro-Hitler, pro-Nazi party organization that wanted us to be on the fucking Axis power side during World War II. That's what they wanted. They supported Nazis. And of course, once the war started, all of these groups got shut down and arrested and shit like that. Right? But there was them, there was America First, there was another group called the Silver Shirts, there was another group called the American Bund organization, you know, kind of like the German Bund. And that's what they were. They were fucking pro-fascist groups. And this is where America First is, that's where the name comes from. You know, of course, if you were to talk to Charlie Kirk about that, you know, he'd fucking, like, completely just be like, we don't have anything to do with that at all. Bullshit. He knows exactly where the fuck it is. Right? You know, that's the other thing. It's like, whenever these people try to deny, like, you know, we didn't know anything about it. Of course he fucking knows. Of course they know, right? That's their job. Their job is, I mean, if their job is politics, then part of politics is knowing fucking history about what happened in the past before, right? Because, you know, that's part of politics as well. So I don't buy that shit for a nanosecond that, you know, that the current iteration of America First has no idea about the fascist roots. I mean, they're basically fucking saying the exact same shit. You know, Candace Owens probably knows this as well, right? Keep in mind, Candace Owens is a fucking grifter, so she's in it for the money. You know, does she really believe any of this shit? Probably not. Okay, she's in it. She's there for the fucking paycheck. So, anyway, let's move on here.
We talk about nationalism, but how can we say nationalism when people have such a dark view of that word? It's become a dirty word. Even though we know what it means, we can't just go out and say we're nationalist. And I responded to her by saying
it has a dirty word, but why? So yes, she's correct there. The word nationalism is tainted politically. So why would you embrace it if you know what the modern day connotations of? What are you trying to take it back or something? Right? Like, you know, it's not because it's you know, it's associated in most, you know, if you were to take the average person and you were to say, what is a nationalist? Right? The first thing they would associate it with is white nationalism. Right? There's a good reason for that. It's because all of the people that follow this sort of, you know, this political ideology all tend to be fucking raging white, you know, white supremacists, white nationalists, shit like that. You know, you never hear about, say, for example, in the United States, you never hear about Native American nationalism, for example. It's not a thing that exists, right? You know, you never hear about Asian nationalism. You know, you never hear about Puerto Rican nationalism. You know, that if anybody has any reason to want to go be an independent country, it's Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is basically like a client state of the United States, you know, right? Like, they have a fucking reason to want to, like, separate themselves off and actually become an independent country, right? That's what nationalism actually means. You know, nationalism is like, you want a country for you and you yourself alone. And, you know, so what the fuck is she talking about? Who are the people? You know, it basically necessitates separation from people who are not part of your in-group. That's what nationalism is, right? So who is she trying to separate? You know, who is she trying to like, what? I guess liberals or whatever? Like, she doesn't see, that's the thing, is that she doesn't understand that if the group she's advocating for took power, she'd be the first person up against the wall. Along with everybody else that she riles against, along with all of the, you know, illegal immigrants or whatever that they want to kick out of the country. They would kick her out as well. She doesn't seem to get that, you know, because she's profiting from these people. And that's something we got to remember, too. It's like, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe Candace Owens isn't, I don't know, maybe she actually is a true believer. I don't think she is. I think she's a fucking grifter. But there are black people who are true believers and actually do believe that, and all of the same shit that she's saying, and that, America is for Americans only, and blah, 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 and, and they don't like illegal immigration, and they don't like gay people, and they don't like trans people, and et cetera, et cetera. There are black people out there who vote Republican for all of these reasons and actually believe the shit. And we should, I think, as people on the left, we should be reaching out to them, is what I think. I think we should, part of what we should be doing is trying to appeal to these people and say, like, this is what you're supporting. You're supporting people who would throw you in jail. You're supporting people who would take away your rights. You're supporting people who would deport you because of the color of your skin. And the people you're getting your information from are lying from you, or are lying to you, basically. I think that should be part of there should be outreach on, like if I was a Democratic strategist, I'd be making commercials and stuff to that effect, saying, why are you voting for Republicans who want to take away all your rights? And then, I don't know. Anyway, when the fuck is she going to talk about Kanye, though? So, okay, let's fast forward a little bit, because it's already 11:30, and it's a school night, and I gotta be in bed by 12 or 1 o'clock or something. So, let's see. Okay, it looks like Kanye is over here at around, let's see, she's talking about Congress over here, about 9 minutes in. We're gonna skip ahead to 9:30 and see where that puts us.
A nationalist. But of course, we know how the news operates, and they took me out of context to try to cancel Candace Owens for being anti-Semitic during the time that I was actually working for Prager University. Prager University,
yeah, he took her out of context by playing her quote for her. How the fuck did he take her out of context? Was there more context to that, where she said that I don't like Adolf Hitler? Was there more context to that right afterwards, where she said Adolf Hitler wasn't okay and nationalism isn't okay as long as you keep it within your borders? Did she actually say that? Like, no. Basically, this is like, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of, like a kid who gets caught, with his fucking, kid who gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar and is trying to come up with excuses. I wasn't really trying to get a cookie out of the cookie jar. I was getting one for you, Mom. That's what I was doing. You looked like you were hungry, and so I was going to go get you a cookie and give it to you. It's like, yeah, right, kid. Get the fuck out of here. I don't know. She's a bad liar. Moving on.
obviously the namesake being Dennis Prager. Dennis Prager is Jewish, openly Jewish. We've talked about his faith. He writes extensively about his faith, and yet they went for this moment, left and right combined.
Yeah. She can't be anti-Semitic because she has Jewish friends. Uh-huh. Using the, I got ex-friends approach, huh? Yeah, some of my best friends are Jewish, trans Jewish gay people. So I can't be, homophobic or anti-Semitic or, et cetera, et cetera. How could I possibly be when my best friend, when the guy who employs me, who gives me money, of course, is Jewish? Like, how could that, yeah, right. Get the fuck out of here. It's just like, man, it's the same fucking excuses. This is the same excuse you would hear from, fucking the guy at work, right? Who, accidentally, sends out, a fucking, email with some naughty words in it, or whatever. I didn't mean to do that, or I got best friends who are black, or whatever. It's like, yeah, get the fuck out of here, man. I don't know. Moving on.
Because, I don't know, I guess I don't have a right to discuss whether or not Adolf Hitler was a nationalist, which I still believe to be untrue. So you can imagine that since going through this, since having to live...
Yes, you do have a right to discuss these things, right? Once again, equating hate speech with free speech. You have a right to say whatever the hell you want. You don't have a right to determine how other people are going to react to it. So when you say something stupid, like nationalism is all right, Hitler was okay as long as he stuck to Germany. When you say some dumb shit like that that's going to piss people off, you can't get mad when you piss people off, right? You know, free speech is the government putting limits on your speech. If the police showed up after that and arrested Candace Owens for making that dipshit comment, that would be a violation of her free speech, right? People getting mad at her and saying that she's like, you know, a fucking anti-Semite for fucking defending Hitler is not a violation of her free speech. You have a right to say whatever the fuck you want. You can say, that's the great thing about this country. You know, you do not have a right to dictate to other people how they're supposed to react to what you say. Moving on.
This out, having to live out somebody take my words and construe meaning that was never there. In fact, in the clip, I never even said the word Jewish. Never.
Yeah, when I was defending Hitler, oh yeah, I never even said the word Jewish. I was just defending a guy that, you know, killed 6 million of them, who instigated the industrial slaughter of an entire fucking race of people. But no, I never said the word actual Jewish. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god, man.
Never even said the word Jewish. You can imagine how I feel now when I see people piling on somebody and they say, oh, this person's anti-Semitic, they said something. My instinct, having lived it, is to say, what did this person actually say? What is the full clip? So the headline on Newsweek is, Kanye West's comments on Jews are quote-unquote horrifying, says an anti-Semitism group. Don't worry, plenty of anti-Semitism groups spoke out against me, including that woman that was sick.
Yeah, they were pretty fucking horrifying. And, you know, Candace Owens, the reason why those groups spoke out against you is because what you said was pretty fucking horrifying, too. You know. I mean, how could it not be horrifying? You know? How is it okay? I mean, how is what she said, what context, right? Would it be okay for her, how would it not be anti-Semitic for her to say what she said, you know, about Adolf Hitler and nationalism? In what context is that not anti-Semitic? Like, there is none. There's no way. I can't think of any context at all that would I mean, unless you were comparing Hitler to, I don't know, like, what the fuck? Like, I can't think of something. I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head. I guess I'd have to sit there and come up with a fucking strategy. I mean, I don't know. How, dude? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Moving on.
Sitting there, right? So that doesn't hold any weight for me. I need to actually see what he said. And in this article, first and foremost, I don't know why it's relevant, but they include a post of Kanye West that he posted on Instagram, and it says he captioned the post, "Jesus is Jew." Okay, Jesus was a Jew. So I don't know if that was supposed to add to their thesis here that Kanye West is anti-Semitic. I don't know if perhaps this article was written by an atheist, but yes, Jesus Christ was in fact a Jew. Moving on from that, they speak about Kanye's interview with Tucker Carlson, in which he talks about his friend, Jared Kushner. The conversation, he says that he was upset to find out while having dinner with Josh Kushner and Jared Kushner that they owned a percentage of Skims. Skims is Kim Kardashian's laundry.
This is the company I was talking about. So yeah, apparently he got butthurt because they had a controlling share in this company, Skims, which is they had more stock than he had, and that's what got him mad. And according to him, that must mean that they're controlling everything, which is like, well, no, they just bought more stock. Anybody can buy stock, right? Once your company goes public, there's no limit. If you have the money, you can buy all the fucking stock you want. And he's equating this to a Jewish cabal of overlords controlling everything that black people do, rich and famous black people do in the country, you know. You see where the disconnect is there, you know? But let's move on a little bit.
Lingerie line. undergarment line that Kanye launched with and for her, right? And he did not know, he found out after the fact, that his friends, Josh and Jared Kushner, owned a bigger percentage than he owned. And he was hurt by that. Let's listen to Kanye in his...
Yeah, that's what it was. Why was he hurt by that? Why would you give a fuck? So, yeah, you find out some investment bankers own more your company, that own more shares than you own, right? And he was hurt by that. He saw that as them taking something that belonged to him. You know, it's like, what he's really pissed at is capitalism in that point. Well, what Kanye West is really angry there, in my opinion, is, you know, Kanye West is one of these people that has had everybody tell him that he's such a genius and shit for so long that when shit doesn't go his way, he can't understand. Like, he's kind of a narcissist in the same way Trump is a little bit. Just surrounded himself with fucking yes men and doesn't have anybody that'll actually tell him, like, no, you're not a fucking genius, you're just a normal person like everybody else. And the only reason all this shit happens is because you're rich, right? I don't think anybody's ever told Kanye West that. No one's ever sat his ass down and said, listen up. You're not fucking a genius, right? You're not fucking Albert Einstein. You're not brilliant. You're a good musician. You're probably a great musician, right? But you're not like, you know, you're not like the fucking greatest thing since sliced bread. Everything you fucking do isn't blessed by God himself. You're just a normal fucking guy, right? With normal guy ideas, okay? And, you know, right? And so the fact that, like, you know, your shit smells just like everybody else, right? Nobody's, like, sat his ass down. And that's part of the reason why, like, he doesn't take his fucking medicine. Because no one will tell him this shit, right? Because they're all basically surrounded his fucking self with yes men, the same way Donald Trump has. So he's sort of turned into this sort of narcissistic, like, you know, that coupled with his mental illness has, like, definitely fucked up his psyche, you know? So he thinks that he takes a personal affront to things like this. Like, oh, you know, a couple of investment bankers bought a shitload of the shares in his company. It's like, well, yeah, that happens all the fucking time. You know, if you didn't want that to happen, you shouldn't have brought the company public, right? Like, you don't have any control over who buys shares in your company. You just don't. Okay? That's just how fucking capitalism works. But... you know, instead, but it can't be that. It has to be some kind of conspiracy, because this is what happens when you get, you know, fucking narcissists, right? You know, one thing that narcissists all share is that everything is a personal slight, right? Every bad fucking thing that happens, you get this also with conspiracy theorists and shit. Like, it's the same way that a conspiracy theorist will say every bad thing that happens is part of the conspiracy. You know, and if you don't believe the bullshit that they tell you, then you must be part of the conspiracy. Same kind of thing with narcissists. Every time something bad happens, they always take it super personally, you know, and will always try to get revenge on people. That's why Donald Trump fucking fired Scaramucci after a week. Remember that guy? Fucking Scaramucci comes in as his communications director, and, like, you know, 2018 or whatever, gets fired after 10 days because he took away the fucking, you know, the headlines away from Donald Trump. Everybody was talking about Scaramucci and they weren't talking about Trump. Trump couldn't fucking take it, fires him. Guy didn't say anything, he didn't do anything bad, didn't do shit, right? His crime was being too popular and taking away Trump's fucking limelight, and that's why he got canned after fucking, like, 8 days or some shit like that, right? Because Donald Trump is a crying man-baby narcissist, you know, who thinks that everything that bad that happens to him is part of some fucking conspiracy to, you know, that's why Donald Trump says shit like, you know, the Russia gate shit. Like, he always brings up the same shit over and over again because it's all part of his fucking paranoid delusion. Kanye West is the same fucking thing. We're seeing it right here. He's got this paranoid fucking delusion. He thinks that every time, you know, everything that's bad that happens to him is because of Jews or whatever. Because of some evil Jewish cabal that's like, you know, because he's off his meds, right, and is starting to gleam onto fucking dipshit conspiracy theories, and people like Candace Owens are fucking encouraging his ass, right? That's what's actually fucking going on here. And it's really sad to see. It's sad to see, man. It's fucked up. You know, this guy needs help. This guy needs fucking therapy. He needs medical help to keep him from fucking landing in the loony bin. You know? I mean, bipolar disorder is nothing to sneeze at. You know, people commit suicide and shit when they have bipolar disorder and they don't get the help they need. It can lead to some very bad things. It can lead to self-harm. It can lead to drug addiction. Right? It can lead to fucking people committing suicide. It can lead to people going on, like, you know, murder sprees and shit. Right? When they, you know, because they kind of get into, like, these ridiculous paranoid delusions. And it's happening here. How many times have you heard about some fucking, like, somebody going crazy because they think, you know, the Catholic Church is, like, sending fucking, you know, mind control messages to them through their fucking, you know, microwave or some shit. Right? And then they, like, I don't know, go off and, like, end up homeless or something, if you're lucky. And if you're unlucky, they go buy a gun and fucking blow themselves away. Like, how many times have you heard about shit like that happening? That kind of thing happens all the fucking time. From undiagnosed and you know, otherwise untreated mental illness. Right? This is what's happening with fucking Kanye West. And the people around him are too chicken shit, right, to actually step in and do something about it. Candace fucking Owens is just grifting on top of his ass. Anyway.
Own words in full context on Tucker Carlson.
So when I think about all of these things that Jared, you know, somehow doesn't get enough credit for with his work, and what is it, his work in Israel or his work in Palestine? What is this? You know where he made these peace treaties? Where was that? Do you know the facts on this right here? So I'm like...
Jared Kushner did not make any peace treaties, by the way. He pretty much made the situation worse. They put Jared Kushner in charge of the Mideast peace process. He fucked it up. You know, they fucked up that entire thing. You know, we had before that, back in the Obama years, something going on there that kind of deteriorated, and then you had another fatwa, stuff like that. And then, but you know, they could have tried to get both sides back to the table to like talk about it. They fucked it all up. You know, the Trump people moved the embassy to fucking away from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and that basically ruined any like chances of there being any kind of actual peace treaty. So Jared Kushner didn't actually do shit here. John, you know, fucking Kanye is misinformed.
Well, I think that was between Israel and some of the Arab nations.
I just think it was to make money. I don't know. Is that too heavy-handed to put in this platform?
No, that's your opinion. We're not in the censorship business.
Okay, thank you. And
why is that? You know, so he did a peace treaty to make money? Okay. And not because it was his job to do a peace treaty, which he didn't do a peace treaty. There are no peace treaties no. Jared Kushner didn't do anything like that, but it would have, if he did, it would have been his job, because that was his job. His job was to facilitate the Middle East peace process. So why would he do that just to make money? Right? This is the example that Candace Owens is putting there as to not being anti-Semitic. Like, why would Jared Kushner be interested in just making money over doing his job? First off.
I just think that that's what they're about, is making money. I don't think that they have the ability to make anything on their own. I think they were born into money. And for me, as a maverick and a talent and a person that's been, you know, beat, kicked, lost everything, said to have lost my mind, went from pull myself up by my boots don't have straps on them, but I say pull myself.
So, okay. All right. Now he's just fucking self-aggrandizing himself, right? It is true what he said there, that Jared Kushner was born into money. Jared Kushner doesn't create anything, because he doesn't, right? But he's not talking about Jared Kushner. He's talking about the Jews. That's what he's saying here, right? That's the context that Candace Owens is not showing. Candace Owens is not showing the context of his, she edited out that part. That other link that I put there earlier in the stream that goes to that Vox article that shows all of the shit they cut out of this interview shows the actual context. So Candace Owens is actually lying right here and doing the exact thing that she blamed the media, quote unquote, of doing. They took me out of context, and then now she's playing Kanye West out of context. It's like, I don't know, project a little much there, Candace.
Up for my boots to becoming a multi-billionaire that gets the price every year of my net worth goes down every year on Forbes. They just keep on slowly just taking it down every year. It's like,
did Kanye West come from nothing? What was his beginning? Did he begin like in the hood or whatever? Or how did he start? Hang on. Early work in Rockefeller. Okay, early life. Born in Atlanta, Georgia. Parents divorced when he was 3. Moved to Chicago. Ray West, a former Black Panther, was one of the first black photojournalists at the Atlanta Constitution. Opened the Good Water Store and Cafe, so they were business owners with startup capital from... Okay. West was raised in a middle-class environment, attending Polaris School in suburban... Okay, so he wasn't born super rich, I guess. So that's good. Okay, well, yeah, maybe he did pull himself up from his bootstraps to become a billionaire. He did kind of marry into some money. To be honest, I don't know Kanye West's history here, but I wanted to see that. Was that actually true? Did he actually come from nothing? It's like, well, seems like he was middle class at least. Okay.
Really a weird thing. But as a person that has really built something from nothing, when I sit across the table from a Josh Kushner and he just feels so entitled to that idea, and this person has never brought anything of value other than so-called being a good venture capitalist, I have a major issue with that. And it makes me feel like they weren't serving my boy, Trump, the way we could have, because, Trump wanted nothing but the best for this country.
Yeah, whatever, Conway. So, yeah, you can see, okay, that's all true, what he's saying there, right? Jared Kushner and his brother don't bring value to stuff. But he's not aiming this criticism at them. Once again, just want to make sure that that point gets clear. He didn't say Jared Kushner is holding me down or whatever. He said Jews. He said Jewish people, right? He's equating Jared Kushner with Jews, with all Jewish people. That's what he's doing, right? He said that his friend was overworked. This is the part that gets cut out of this interview. His friend was overworked and killed by his Jewish handler. He said that all the black men out there are controlled by Jewish people. Like that's what he fucking said. So it's like, no. I don't want to sit here and listen to him suck Trump's dick. So let's move on to Candace Owens.
If you're friends with someone, you would assume they would tell you that, right off the bat. But he feels that he was somehow cut out of something that was his creative product, right? Now, that is not to assign blame to Jared and Josh. I am also very friendly with Jared Kushner. That is certainly not to say they did anything wrong, but you can understand.
See, she's completely ignoring the part where he said it was Jewish people and not Jared Kushner. He uses Jared Kushner as an example, but he distinctly says it was Jewish people. She's cutting that part out. fucking snake oil salesman here, man. God damn, these people lie like, we make the mistake of calling people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson stupid. They're not stupid. They're very good at what they do. They're very good liars. And that's what she's fucking doing now. She's very well, very craftily, like, you know, crafting lies. Right? Because that's her job, man. Her job is to professionally lie and give white people an out so that they can sit there and be like, see, I'm not racist. Here's a black woman that agrees with me. That's what her job is. She's basically like a professional token black conservative.
Understand that Kanye is saying that he's hurt by this. And now he's wondering what their motives are, even in their friendship, right? I think all that's fair. You can question your friend's motives. Not once did he mention the fact that Jared and Josh were Jewish. So how on earth is this being included as something that was anti-Semitic? Are you no longer allowed to discuss Jared Kushner and what his perhaps his reasons and his motives behind doing the deal in the Middle East are? In fact, the New York Times covered after.
All right. You know what? I can't fucking take this lying shit anymore. All right. So we got to go back. We're gonna go to you know. All right. We're gonna go to this. Right. Let me see here. Because I want to demonstrate that she's like fucking, you know, leaving this shit out, right? So some of the things he took out, you know, he says that, let's see. Control the Jew population. Here we go. Here's Kanye West. I want to show, because she's, you know, these are parts that they took out of this, right? Just to kind of show you that Candace Owens is lying. This is where he talks about Planned Parenthood, right, and to control the Jew population.
Planned Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics, with the KKK to control the Jew population. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of Christ, who the race, the people known as the race black really are. This is who our people are, the blood of Christ. This, as a Christian, is my belief. And I believe that if we saw ourselves as more...
Okay, so you can kind of see, you know, he starts getting into the fucking black Israelite shit, right? And then, let's see, starts talking about, he does start talking about fucking, where is it? There's another video where he talks like specifically about fucking, Jared Kushner here. Let me see if I can find it exactly. Right. J. Oh, wait a minute. What just happened? What the fuck? Why did that... Did that just... Oh, it went all the way down. Okay. Let's see. So a lot of his interview, a lot of the stuff they cut out was him just doing like a bunch of random like just babbling on about stuff like he talks about free energy and kinetic cities and shit like that, stuff that doesn't make any fucking sense. But he also gets a little bit into the anti-Semitism there. Fake children out in places, mouths as children. Let's see. Here we go.
Exactly what our culture is based on. Think about us judging each other on how white we could talk would be like, you know, a Jewish person judging another Jewish person on how good they danced or something. I mean, that's probably like a bad example when people are going to get mad at that shit, but...
yeah, just a little anti-Semitic there. Anyway.
Another thing that they do, that I probably want to edit that out in front of that like that. Okay, so.
See, anyway, I don't know, just a little, yeah. What was that? Let's watch that one more time.
I probably want to edit that out in front of that like that. Okay, so.
Yeah, see, even he knows it's like, okay, what I'm saying here is a little bit, little much. Please edit that out.
You know, I was talking to Ice Cube today, and we got really beat up in 2020 for saying we need to approach things a different way and not just be trauma drunk.
Right.
Which is a term that God just hit me with in the past couple of days. We are no longer trauma drunk. We are no longer trauma drunk, and we're no longer trauma bonding, and we're no longer woke in the sense of what woke is, because woke is just complaining about racism, but not doing anything about it.
I don't really know where he gets that from. I mean, kind of seems like when someone's woke, they're doing the exact opposite of what he just said. Woke doesn't seem to be just complaining about racism. Woke seems to be actually trying to do something about racism. That actually does. I mean, where does the not doing anything about it part come in? When you talk about things like woke politics or woke representation in movies, shit like that, or something like that. Like all the things that the right-wingers complain about that they use the word woke for. It's like, how is that not doing anything about racism? I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. And that's the thing. So this is a bunch of shit, like, you can kind of see how he just sort of rambles in and out, and then he'll just drop an anti-Semitic comment here or there. And then, like, move on. So, I don't want to go through all of these. I want to go back to Candace Owens, but you get the point. You see the shit that she's not saying, right? You see the shit that, the shit that she's leaving out to try to defend him when it's like, take what he says here in context with his tweets, right? With what he said about, what he said about Jewish people controlling him and controlling black people and stuff like that. And it's like, no, man, he's fucking anti-Semitic as hell. All right, let's move on here. Let's watch a little bit more of this.
That Hunter Biden did in Ukraine when his father was told by Jared
The fuck did they say about Hunter Biden?
Kushner, and it came from the Saudi prince. Okay, so that's the Middle East. So if somebody wants to ask the question whether or not he used his influence because he struck up this deal, the Abraham Accords, and whether or not because of that he met some people and made some connections and then was able to get some money for his fund, that's a fair question to ask. It's a fair question to ask, by the way, when we talk about the wheeling and dealing that Hunter Biden did in Ukraine when his father was a vice president of the United States.
Yeah, so she's comparing Jared Kushner to Hunter Biden, obviously. Because, they can never let a day go by where they don't bring up Hunter Biden. The context for this was that Jared Kushner got a $2 billion deal from Saudi Arabia for one of his companies, and nobody knows what that money is for. That's the context. Like, in fact, yeah, that's what she was showing here a few minutes ago with this headline. Before giving billions to Jared Kushner's Saudi investment fund had big doubts, right? They don't know exactly, where did we leave about here? Like, the details of that business deal haven't been made clear, as to my knowledge. I mean, if they have, please somebody correct me. And it's sort of like, why the fuck did they give him all that money? Why the fuck did the Saudi government give Jared Kushner $2 billion when he didn't actually do anything? And so there's lots of conspiracy theories running over that. Some people think it's because, like Trump sold them stolen documents and stuff like that. We don't have any proof as to how any of that goes. But she's basically saying, well, that's fine. We don't need to know. We don't, especially since, he made this deal supposedly in connection to his work with the State Department, which is supposed to be illegal. That's why it's a big deal, right? You're not supposed to be able to make $2 billion, like, on a side hustle when you're working for the United States government. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So what she's saying is like, oh, that's perfectly fine. Oh, then he made this deal, he made this deal on the side. That's totally cool. It's like, no, it's not cool. There's laws against shit like that. When you're representing the United States government, you're not supposed to be out there wheeling, dealing for your own private business, right? If that's what happened, Jared Kushner should be in prison for that shit. Right. But of course she has to compare that to Hunter Biden, who, by the way, does not work for the United States government, did not work for the United States government when he had any dealings in Ukraine, right? Which, all of which have been proved to be like bullshit anyway. And there's, been like no undue, like, fucking. I mean, yeah, they put this guy on like a board of some like energy company or whatever, but he didn't work for the government. And it's like, okay, were they trying to curry favor with his father? But at the time that Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma or whatever, fucking, it was like after Joe Biden already left office. Like, like what the fuck? It's like, how does this shit compare? How does it compare, Hunter Biden being on the board of an energy company? How does that compare to getting $2 billion? Did they pay Hunter Biden $2 billion? Did he cut this deal while he worked for the State Department? It's like, one of those things is illegal, right? I don't know. Maybe we should make a video about all that. All about the Hunter Biden conspiracies, because it's shit that just doesn't seem to be going away. It's like they won't let it die. You know what I mean? And it's kind of shows how like little they actually fucking have on Biden. They don't have any decent conspiracy theories. They have to go with like some shit that his son did that is not really connected to him in any way. But maybe one of these days, maybe our next stream in next week or something, we'll go over all the Hunter Biden conspiracy theories. That might be a good stream. Anyway, moving on.
I don't care that Jared Kushner is Jewish. I don't care that Kanye West is a Christian. And none of these things mean anything. You are allowed to ask questions about how people are doing deals. Period. It is.
Yeah, that's not what Kanye West is doing. He's not asking questions about how did Jared Kushner got all this money. He didn't say anything about that whatsoever. See, that's the thing. It's like she brought that up. She brought up, oh, he made $2 billion from the Saudi Arabian government. Kanye West didn't say shit about that. He didn't say anything about that whatsoever. Right? He basically said that, Jewish people are controlling black people. And that his friend was fucking murdered. His friend died, right? Because he was like exploited by his Jewish manager, right? That's one of the things that he says in the deleted scenes there from that fucking Vox article, right? So it's like, no, she's basically setting up a straw man and then knocking it down, because the real argument, like if she were to actually argue on what the actual facts are, then her argument would have no fucking basis in reality. Fucking biggest grifting ass liar. Moving on.
Such an insult to people's intelligence to continually use isms. Oh, it's because you're anti-Semitic. If you even ask a question, you're anti-Catholic. How dare you question Nancy Pelosi? Oh, you must hate black people. You know what? Newsweek, who wrote this article? Emma Mayer. You must hate black people. How dare you critique Kanye West, a black man, a black billionaire? Obviously, you don't want Kanye West to be successful.
Yeah, see, so trying to, I guess, point fingers at the left here. This is like kind of a misconception, right? Like what she's basically doing is like, you trying to say like okay, how can I put this, right? This is sort of the reaction that you get from the right wing whenever you find an example of actual racism. You're pulling the race card, right? That's basically what she's doing. She's trying to turn that around. And it's not even really something that happens on the left very often either. Like, that's a weak argument, right? Pulling the race card is a weak argument, right? And you don't usually see that very often. Nobody really goes out and says, oh, you hate, for example, I don't know, Nina Turner just because she's black, right? Like, no. Or you're being racist because, like, say, here's a good example, George Floyd, Oh, it's nobody ever said that Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd just because he was black. That's not a thing that anybody said, right? What we said, because this is what actually happened, was that a white police officer murdered a black, killed a black man by basically, asphyxiating him to death, right? And his race definitely had something to do with it, right? If George Floyd was white, they wouldn't have strangled him to death, right? They would have treated him differently. And this is what the whole George Floyd, movement is about, is that they want black people to be treated the same way white people are by the police. They want equality of treatment, right? They don't want people to get fucking murdered by cops, because it just so happens that, police seem to be pretty fucking trigger happy when it comes to black men in this country. Police seem to be, very willing to use lethal force, right? And seem to be very uncaring about, when the needs of someone in their custody, like what happened with George Floyd. We all saw the video. George Floyd was sitting there begging, can't breathe. Starts calling for his mother, right? And the police basically ignored his pleas of, help, I can't breathe, and watched him die. Didn't do shit to help him. Why did they do that, right? If George Floyd was white, would they have listened to him, right? I suspect so. This is what we're actually saying. Nobody is basically saying there, oh, you must hate black people. Right? No one's saying that so she's basically, what she's doing again is, this is a classic straw man argument. She's setting up an argument that she can easily knock down, because the actual argument is something that she can't win. Right? Kind of like, it's almost like a parody of like, this is what they think, how the left reacts. That's basically what she's saying. And it's like, no, it's, completely, it's basically completely cutting out all of the nuance in history. The history and nuance and deeper examination from the leftist argument. So anyway, moving on.
This is a game that is played by idiots.
Hey, Raph, thanks for joining, man. I'm going to cut this out, and maybe I'm going to give it another... Let's give it another 10 minutes, and then I want to read some comments, and then we'll end it, because it's already midnight, so...
And the only people that accept this game and perpetuate this game are other idiots. You have a right to ask questions, and you have a right to question someone's motive, irrespective of their race, their gender, their background, certainly their religion. I don't care.
Yeah, nobody ever says that you don't have a right to question somebody because of their race or their religion. That's not it, right? That is not... That's basically... It's kind of... She's trying to give an excuse for criticism of institutional racism, right? Nobody ever says that, you're not allowed to question someone because of their race. That's not what's going on here at all, right? No one ever uses that as a defense either. When was the last time? I mean, name it. Name some time when somebody gave a defense that said, we should let this guy go. This guy who committed a crime, we should let him go just because he's black. When did anybody ever say that? Any politicians ever say that? Were there any... I mean, maybe you could find some fucking, like, weird-ass fringe group that might say some shit like that. When did anybody who's serious ever say that? When did a politician ever say that? When did a police chief or a college professor or anybody that's, actually has any power ever say anything like that? When did a journalist ever say that? Never. That's not an argument that the left uses, right? And that's really not what Kanye West is doing here either. This is something that the right wing says in response to, like I said, criticisms of institutional racism. Like when you criticize, like, oh, the fact that police officers tend to arrest black people more, they tend to kill them more. There's more black people in prison for crimes that white people don't go to prison for more often than not, or the white people get smaller sentences for the same crime, shit like that. This is their response to it. Oh, what am I supposed to just let him go because he's black? Right? Am I not supposed to? Are they not supposed to be arrested just because they're black? It's like, well, no. That's not what anybody's fucking saying. Anyway. She's full of shit. Moving on.
I don't care if you pray on the rosary. I don't care if you have a Star of David around your neck. If I have a criticism that I would like to launch about you or that I would like to say, I'm going to say it. Hence me doing a documentary that I am releasing this week regarding Black Lives Matter. It's not because I hate black people. I know she must hate black people. That's why she's doing it. No, I'm doing it because I think something shady went on.
Yeah, she's doing it to make money. Can we get back to talking about Kanye, please? Fucking, Miss fucking, okay, are we getting back to Kanye? Can we not talk about all this other bullshit? All of this other bullshit is fascinating, but please, let's talk about Kanye. Okay, it looks like right here is where there's a tweet, so let's just play a little bit more.
Kanye said this about Jared Kushner because he thinks that something shady went on in their friendship. He is questioning motives. He is allowed to do that.
That's incorrect. That's not why he said that. He said it because he thinks Jared Kushner is part of some Jewish cabal that's controlling the world. That's why, she's misrepresenting that. And I want to let him get, I mean, I know I've repeated that like 6 times during this stream, and it's like, you can't let them get away. You got to respond every time, because this is part of the method by which these people spread their bullshit, is by repeating and repeating and repeating stuff that isn't true. This is part of the methodology, just that sort of like, drill it into your head style of fucking like arguing. So, moving on.
But of course, it was the tweet that he sent that really got people motivated. So let's read that tweet. Kanye West wrote and then subsequently had his Twitter locked when he said, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also." You guys.
Okay, it's 18 minutes in. She's finally getting to the fucking tweet. All of that setup previous to this was to put doubt into your mind. Kanye can't possibly be racist. Kanye can't possibly be anti-Semitic. Right? I didn't mean, sorry, not racist, anti-Semitic. Right? Finally, no, he's got Jewish friends. He's friends with Jared Kushner, blah, 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 blah. Right? Kanye can't possibly be these things, whatever, right? It's okay to question people. Then we finally, 18 minutes in, when most people have turned this shit off already, right? Because who the fuck watches Candace Owens for 20 minutes straight, unless you're like a sadist or something, right? Like, now she actually gets to the fucking tweet that actually says, DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, right? Doesn't say Jared Kushner, right? It doesn't say, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jared Kushner because I think he stole my company or whatever. No, it says Jewish people. Okay. So, let's remember that. Let's remember the fucking, this is the actual context here, right? Moving on.
Guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. That was the tweet. And people subsequently demanded that the tweet be taken down for anti-Semitism. Now, if you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You did not think that he wrote this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust. That's if you're an
Okay. Why? If you're an honest person, you would not think this is anti-Semitic. Let's just go back and read it, right? We're supposed to believe, if we're honest, that this is not anti-Semitic. So let's read it for ourselves and determine if this is anti-Semitic. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. He doesn't seem to know what it's supposed to be, DEFCON, right? Not DEATHCON. He doesn't seem to know that. The funny thing is, I can't actually be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew, right? So, on some level, Kanye West knows that what he's saying is anti-Semitic, or at least he knows enough. He knows enough to know that people will take it as anti-Semitic. So, even he knows that the shit is bad, right? You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda, right? It doesn't say I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner has toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes his agenda. It does not say that. It says Jewish people. Okay? She just spent the last 18 minutes trying to convince us, all leading up to this tweet, so that we would not believe what we see with our own eyes. Okay? Because that's Candace Owens' job. Her job is to lie and mislead people, right, into thinking conservatives aren't fucking the hateful bigots that they actually are. That's her job. So let's continue on with that, right?
I'm going death this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust. That's if you're an honest person, you'll meet that. You will.
How the fuck would anybody think this is the beginning of the Holocaust, right? Like, why did she say that? Let's repeat what she just said here, okay? Let's rewind that one more time.
Sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. That was the tweet. And people subsequently demanded that the tweet be taken down for anti-Semitism. Now, if you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You did not think that he wrote this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust. That's if you're an honest person, you'll meet.
Yeah. You could be anti-Semitic without starting the Holocaust. Right? And if you're honest, you would, if you're actually honest, you would read the tweet for what it is and see what he actually wrote and take the context that he actually wrote it in and not the bullshit lies that Candace Owens has just spent the last 18 minutes fucking piling on us. That's if you were actually really, really, truly honest. This is what you would be doing. Right? Candace Owens is the one who's not being honest here. She's the one trying to defend this guy. Right? And trying to convince us that our eyes are lying to us. Right? Candace Owens is a professional liar. She lies for a living.
You will admit that, right? If you're an honest person, when you read this tweet, you had no idea what the hell he was talking about. I had no idea when I read this tweet what the hell he was talking about. This tweet inspired questions, not answers. First and foremost, what is death?
Yes. I would say the same thing. What the hell is Kanye talking about? Right. But why do his tweets need to be interpreted? See, that's the thing. People said the same shit about Donald Trump, too. Right? You remember when Donald Trump, like back during when he was running for office, 2016 and shit, and one thing, he would like tweet some stuff about, something sexist or whatever, or something fucking like vaguely racist or anti-Semitic. Donald Trump's a fucking anti-Semite too. Kind of, sort of. He if not like he's probably not like a Jew hater, Donald Trump, but he definitely leans into the Jewish people are like shifty bankers stereotype. You know, we've seen examples of that from Donald Trump. You know, but people would do the same shit with him as well. They would say like, "Oh, well, he just tweeted this thing that sounds racist or whatever, but that's not what he really means, right?" And they would like interpret his tweets, and it's like, why the fuck do you need to interpret his tweets? Like, they're tweets, they're not Bible passages, right? Like, how about we just take them at face value and read them for what they actually fucking say, and not try to like interpret them to say some other shit that they don't say. Like, that's what, you know what I mean? And that's what she's basically doing here. She's trying to get us to that this is not what he really meant. He didn't really mean to say that, you know, he's going DEFCON 3, which he doesn't seem to know what a fucking DEFCON 3. Like, basically, you know, that's like the nuclear like status. And really, you know, the only reason I remember that is because it was in fucking a movie. Like, I think it was in you ever watch War Games? Way back in the day with like fucking you know, what's his name, that one actor, I can't remember, the guy from Godzilla, right, was in War Games. You know, War Games is a movie that came out in the 80s way back in the day, about a guy who fucking hacks into NORAD so that he can play video games with like the artificial intelligence that runs NORAD, you know, and accidentally almost starts a nuclear war. That's the only reason why I know what DEFCON 1, 2, 3 actually is, you know, like, well, that's why I remember it. You know, it's because when you hit, you know, DEFCON 5, that's like nuclear war. And like DEFCON 1 is like peace. Like, there's no threat of nuclear war. So, but, you know, so that's what it actually means. So what he's basically saying is that, you know, I think he doesn't know that it's not DEFCON, it's supposed to be DEFCON. And, like, he doesn't know that it's, like, supposed to be DEFCON 5 because, you know, Kanye West doesn't know any of this shit either. Right? Because he's not a genius. He's just a fucking guy who's off his fucking rocker. Kanye West is not a goddamn genius. Anyway, so let's see how Candace Owens fucking butchers this shit. Hang on.
Con 3. Did he mean DEFCON 3?
Yes, he did.
Which would be a military defense position, not an offense, for those of you that are offended. A military defense position. Is he tweeting this because he's reading the Newsweek headline calling him an anti-Semitic?
Yeah, because he doesn't know what it is. Right? He didn't know what... Because he doesn't even know that it's supposed to be DEFCON and not DEATHCON. That's why. Right? So why are you even bothering to ask that question? Why is Candace Owens, like, emphasizing that shit? It's because she's trying to mislead people. Like...
Is he angry because he can't believe that he's not free to talk about people in his life who happen to be Jewish, right? Without being accused of anti-Semitism? Is he saying, I'm not going to...
You are free to talk about anybody and anything at any time. You are not free to tell other people how they should react to it. So if you say some shit that sounds anti-Semitic, like I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, if that's what you fucking say, you should expect some backlash from that, right? See, it's like, I don't know. All right, you know what? I can't go on anymore. We're just kind of going in circles here. She's just repeating the same fucking stupid, untrue bullshit over and over and over. Candace Owens is a goddamn joke. All right, you know, a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more, and then we'll end this.
I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to keep tweeting, and I'm going to keep calling these people out, referring to his friends that he feels slighted by. Is he talking about Jared Kushner and Josh Kushner?
He did not say his friends that he feels slighted by. Right? She's interpreting it that way. She's adding all that stuff, right? She's the one that spent 18 minutes trying to frame it in that context, that he's really talking about his friends, how he fucking hates them, apparently. Even though they're his friends, he thinks they stole his company. Like, she's the one that said all that. The tweet doesn't actually say that. The tweet says Jewish people. Okay? The tweet says, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. does not say I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jared Kushner, right? You know, all of the context in this interview with Tucker fucking Carlson leads up to that as well. He doesn't say Jared Kushner, he says Jews and Jewish people. Okay? She's lying.
If you're a liar, you'll say, I know I was scared, Candace. I actually thought that Kanye West was going to launch a military strike in Israel. Because that's the reaction. Like when I woke up and I looked at the headlines, the reaction was like Kanye West had gotten together a military strike and it was going to go forward in the morning time in Israel. That was...
Nobody ever fucking thought that. See, it's so transparent. Like once you examine the lies, they're so fucking transparent. Nobody ever fucking thought that. What she's doing now is called, there's a name for this, logical fallacy, which escapes me at the moment. But it's when you take the most extreme position of your opponent and argue against that. Right? No one said that they thought that he was going to actually bomb people in Israel. That's stupid. That's the dumbest shit ever. Right? She's framing it like that because it's ridiculous. No rational person would sit here and be like, yeah, you know, like, and agree with that dumbass statement. She's framing it like that because that's a statement that's easy to debunk, right? Because it sounds stupid. It's like, you know, it's sort of the name of the logical fallacy. It's related to the straw man fallacy, but there's another word for it, like, you know, argument ad absurdum or some shit like that. Anyway, all right, Candace Owens is fucking full of shit. You see where this is going. She's basically just making excuses for him at this point. And we're kind of talking about the same shit over and over. So let's turn that shit off. Anyway, folks, you get the idea. Let's read a few comments, and then we'll end this, because there's a bunch of comments that I didn't get to. You get the idea. Kanye West is fucking going crazy. And here's one more thing. One more thing I want to show you guys before we read some comments. Right? Why? And I found this is pretty interesting, and I don't know how much this relates to what this current little kerfuffle is all about. Here's another article. But I think this is interesting, and I think it's probably connected in some way. This is from Vanity Fair. Kanye West, after going on several anti-Semitic rants, agrees to buy Parler. What the fuck is Parler? Parler is right-wing rip-off Twitter. Right. And it's not the only one. There's a bunch of right-wing rip-off Twitters. You know, there's Getter. There's fucking, you know, Donald Trump's own version called Truth Social. Right. And Kanye West is apparently going to buy this company, his own Twitter version, his own rip-off Twitter, right? It just so happens that Candace Owens, her husband, actually owns Parler. Right? Now, let me verify that. I'm pretty sure, you know, hang on. Candace Owens, husband, Parler. Yep. He doesn't own it. He's the CEO of Parler, excuse me. So, yeah, her husband, his name is George Farmer. He's the CEO of Parler. So it's like, maybe, just maybe, that's part of the reason why Candace Owens is coming to Kanye West's defense here. Because she and her husband are set to make a shitload of money if he agrees to buy Parler. Does it say how much he bought it for here? Let's see, blah, blah, blah. This is them wearing the White Lives Matter shirts. We talked about that earlier. So Kanye West's estimated net worth of $2 billion. How the fuck did he get so much money? God damn. Built much of his wealth from his line of Yeezy sneakers. Alright. Anyway, wait, are those fucking like ridiculous, ugly wait, hang on. What the fuck is a Yeezy sneaker? Like, aren't those like, yeah! Those are those really disgusting looking fucking, like, these are Kanye West's sneakers. Like, these ridiculous fucking things. like the ones with the heels that go way out like that, like, and then have this like weird fucking bony shit on it. Like, that's Kanye West's shoes. I see people wearing these things all over the place. All right, now I understand why he's so rich, because everybody wears these dumbass shoes. These are the ugliest, and like, what the fuck is this? I see these everywhere. Like, Kanye West came up with this shit? God damn, that makes me hate Kanye even more. Because these are the ugliest fucking shoes ever. I would rather shoot myself in the face than wear these fucking shoes. Embarrassing, stupidest fucking shit. How do you run in something like something like this, where the heel goes way the fuck out like that? Does that help you run? Seems like you would trip and fall over. Like, how do you walk down a flight of stairs with this shit? And why would you wear... no, fuck off. Alright, well, I guess we're on Amazon now. Why would you wear shit with holes in it? Like, aren't these things like plastic? Ugh. Ugliest fucking shit ever. Anyway, let's go back to Vanity Fair. Does it say how much he's supposed to buy it for? Now, I guess it doesn't say how much he's actually spending on Parler. But yeah, I think that's a little bit too much to be a coincidence, folks. You know, the fact that Kanye says a bunch of really, you know, anti-Semitic shit, gets in a bunch of trouble, and then, you know, Candace Owens comes to his defense, and it just so happens that they're trying to unload their fucking worthless company on him. Because, make no mistakes, folks, Parler is fucking worthless. It is. Parler has roughly 250,000 people as their user base. That's about how many, like, uniques they get a day. And when it comes to social media, that's not shit. Now, that's great if you have your own personal website and you get 250,000 uniques a day. That's awesome. You're making money from that. When you have a social media website, that's nothing. That's fucking, you know, to put in context, something like 4chan gets like 8 million uniques a day, right? Something like Facebook has 2 billion users and gets somewhere in the area of like 600 billion to like 800, or 600 million to like 800 million uniques a day. Like, seriously, like, so 250,000, like, that's nothing. That's nothing. They're basically fucking ripping them off, is what they're doing. Right? So Candace Owens is defending him when he says anti-Semitic shit and is poised to make a shitload of money from him. Yeah, okay. That's what's really fucking happening here, folks, because Candace Owens is a fucking grifter, right? That's her entire job. Her entire job is to be someone who gives, you know, racist white people an excuse, right? You know, and the ability to say to themselves, oh, I'm not so racist. Candace Owens agrees with me. She's black, right? She's fucking like, you know, she's idpol for the conservatives. That's what she is, right? She's like the token person that they can point to say, like, see, here's a black woman that agrees with my opinion, so I can't be racist. If she agrees with it, she can't be racist, she's black. It's like, that's what it is, right? That's her entire fucking job. That's her entire business model, is to be that voice in conservative circles and to run away with as much money as fucking possible. And she's even doing it to Kanye. It's kind of fucked up, because as far as I see it, she's taking advantage of someone who's like, you know, like mentally ill. I mean, like we said, he's not taking his medicine, right? how do we know that he's in the right state of mind to be fucking spending however much money he's going to spend on this? It didn't say how much they're going to spend. I'm assuming it's a shitload of money. You know, fucking hundreds of millions of dollars or something. It's kind of sad, dude. I hope he gets help. You know, I hope he gets help and goes back to making music, stops making ugly ass fucking shoes. God, those shoes are ugly. And starts taking his medicine and starts fucking cutting these grifting assholes out of his life. I hope he straightens himself out and you know, stops falling down these these fucking ridiculous conspiracy theory wacky religious rabbit holes and is able to live the rest of his life as a normal person for his help. That's the thing about all this. You know, you read all this shit, it's like I don't blame Kanye West for any of this stuff because he's unwell, you know, and he doesn't deserve hate. He deserves, like, you know, he deserves help is what he fucking deserves, right? Anyway, it's all fucked up. Let's read a couple of comments here and then I'm gonna hit the sack here because it's like 12:30 and I gotta wake up in 6 hours. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Sean Nilaba, do you ever whistle for no reason? Me? Oh, yeah, I guess we're talking about the Scientology questions, right? Yeah, those were questions just like that. You know, things like, do you ever whistle for no... One of the questions on the Scientology test, if I remember right, was, would you kill an animal to end its suffering? And it's like, well, yeah, you know, I would. You know, you find a wolf or something that's, like, caught up in a bunch of fucking, you know, barbed wire and, like, is obviously gonna die. It's like, yeah, you shoot it, put it out of its misery, you know. One time, I remember this, me and my brother found a frog that got ran over. And it was still alive, and its legs were fucking paste. And it was just half a frog that was just, like, struggling to move, and it couldn't because it was, like, stuck to the pavement. And it was sad, and I think I was, like 12, and my brother was 15, and yeah, we killed the frog. Because it was suffering, man. It was, like, half of a frog that was, like, its bottom half was, like, fucking, like, it wasn't just crushed. It was like, you know, when like a fucking squirrel gets run over or something, it's just flat as a pancake. It was like that. And the poor thing was fucking alive. It was like, dude, yes, we killed it. We got a stick and we hit the frog in the head until it died. You know, because it was fucked up because the poor thing was suffering, you know. But I guess according to Scientology, that means I'm unstable and, like, suicidal and shit, you know. Because I have compassion for animals, right? Let's see. Sean Nilla, but at least with the Amway, you end up with clean dishes. Yeah, right. Amway is also a scam. But, you know, at least they're not trying to save your soul or whatever. Like, Amway is for those of you out there who don't know, is the OG multi-level marketing thing where, you know, you don't actually sell the products anymore. You just recruit other people. And this is how you know it's a multi-marketing scheme, is that you're not supposed to sell products to people and make money, because that is how you would assume you're supposed to make money from a company that sells products. But no, you're just supposed to use the products and spend $2,000 a month for them or something like that. And then you get 6 other people to do the exact same thing, and then you get a portion of the money that they spend, and that's where the pyramid part comes in. That's where it's a multi-level marketing pyramid scheme, you know. And I remember this conversation, like, getting back to that part when I was talking about, the guy that I said that to, that called me, got really pissed over that. He got really pissed because I asked him in that conversation, I'm like, you ever join Amway? And he said, yes. And I was like, you know, why did you stop going to Amway? Because I kind of figured he probably did. Because one thing, and even I think I was like 19 at the time. This was like a year later because they kept fucking calling me. And one of the things I was really on about during that time was sort of cults and shit like that, you know, like, and that's what basically it's the same thing. It's when people are searching for like spiritual fulfillment, they're very much open to these types of groups, you know, and cults don't have to specifically do with religion. There are such things as non-religious cults, and you can almost classify Amway as that, you know, like as one of these types of non-religious cults almost. There are people that live, eat, sleep, and breathe Amway, and so like I think he got really pissed at that because it was like, you know, like I was comparing his religion to this fucking, you know, but that's the thing, is that there's a lot to compare, right? Between Scientology and Amway, there's a lot to compare. People join it for the same fucking reason. It's like, you know, people join Amway not to make money per se. That's just what they attract you with. You know, the reason why you stay in it is for the community. And the recruiters actually know this. The people, the Amway recruiters, they know this. And they sort of emphasize that. And they tell you to emphasize that as well when you're trying to recruit people. It's not about the money. It's about the community. Right? So, pretty telling there. Let's see. Sean Nilba, God chose them, but they have turned away from the path, yada yada. Yeah, you're right. You're right. We're talking, I think that was in reference to the Catholic Church and the official stance on Israel. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I do remember reading about something like that. I have to look that up, but I think it's still, I think there is some sort of official doctrine about how the church is supposed to be the successor, right? Like the Jewish people are still considered, you know, still considered like the chosen people, right? But like the church is the successor to Israel, so it's like the body of Christ is Israel, something like that. I'd have to actually look it up, but I remember reading something like that back in the day. Few more comments. It's 12:41. We went a little bit longer than I thought it was tonight, but fuck it. The reason why I'm streaming tonight, by the way, is because I'm not going to be here on the weekend. I'm going to be out of town, so no stream this Saturday, folks. Sorry. But after that, we'll be back to normal. Just have some family and stuff that I'm going to go visit this weekend. Should be a blast. Sean Ilbud, the tribe does have a pretty hefty presence in the showbiz arena. I guess not playing sports and learning to play music and English lit as kids might have something to do with that. Talking about Jewish people? Yeah, well, maybe. There are a lot of famous Jewish people, yes, but, you know, there's a lot of famous people of every race and religion. And, you know, yeah, it does so happen that Hollywood was one of those industries that Jewish people as a demographic kind of invested in during the early days, right? Part of that reason was because it was seen as a somewhat, back in the beginning, you know, it was kind of seen as a shifty business that a lot of people didn't want to put money in. So that became part of this, like, that sort of fed on the Jewish stereotype as well. So that's kind of evolved into this like shifty producer kind of thing. Like, how many times have you seen a movie where it's like, here comes the scumbag movie producer, and his name is like Larry, like, you know, Larry fucking Bronkowitz or something like that. You know, some stereotypical like Jewish New Yorker name. This is all, I mean, that's the thing. It's all stereotypes. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's not true. There are a lot of famous Jewish people. There's a lot of Jewish people in Hollywood, but I'd say that the stereotype that the Jews run Hollywood, that's not true. It's not true at all. plenty of Christian producers, plenty of Christian directors and executives of different media companies and things like that. Especially when it comes to the media, because that's the big conspiracy theories. The Jews run the media. That's the thing that, you see from 4chan and shit, where they like post pictures of all of the executives of CNN or something, and then they color all the Jewish ones in blue or something like that. That's fucking stereotype, right? Half of the time, the people they list are not actually Jewish, right? The other half of the time, even when they are, it's like sometimes it'll be it's bullshit. It's bullshit. And we could spend a whole stream talking about it. In fact, we should probably make a stream of that too. The Jewish control the media like fucking stereotype. Like, where did that even come from? I guess that would be something. That'd be a good subject to talk about. Okay, let's see. Sean Nillabud, free speech, not consequence free. Exactly. Kanye was upset that the MD of JP Morgan wouldn't return his calls, even though he had $140 million in his account. That's pocket change for JP Morgan. Really? Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, that's true. I didn't know that he reached out to JP. Oh, I'll have to read about that. Sean Nillabud, check Kanye singing Bohemian Rhapsody at Glastonbury a few years back, booed off stage. So are you saying that he's not even a good musician anymore? That's too bad. He should go back to that, I think. I don't know. Louis the Hedgehog, if a government has the authority to forbid an abortion, they also have the authority to mandate them. Nazi Germany did both. That's true. That's true. There were breeding programs that were supposedly set up by the Nazis in order to, breed healthy Aryan children. And they did this, they would have sort of like camps where they would, like Hitler Youth sort of camps, and where they'd have young, strapping boys and girls of late teenage years, and they'd have little private cabins off on the side for them to go get it on with so that the girls could get pregnant. And that was just so that they could breed strong soldiers and shit to fight in future wars in Germany. That's definitely true. It's like, maybe we should not have the government involved with childbirth whatsoever. Maybe that's how we solve that problem, right? By having them have no control over abortions or over forced births or anything like that. Maybe we should just remove that completely from anything having to do with the government. I would agree with that. Let's see. Sean Nillabud, some more news did a show on Hunter Biden. Oh, really? Okay, well, I'm going to watch that then, because Some More News is like one of my favorite channels. I'll have to definitely check that out. And Shoma! Hey, Raph, thanks for joining. Can't Dance Owens. Does a lot of what other far-right talking heads always do, misrepresenting the details just for a simplified emotional rise out of their viewers. Yes. That is, the first part of the grift that these people always put in is pissing people off. That's their main method of making money. The outrage posting is basically what they do. This is what Charlie Kirk and what fucking Ben Shapiro and Sean fucking Hannity and everybody else, that's their main method is emotion, making money through emotional manipulation of their viewers, right? Keep people angry and they get engaged, because there's nothing like anger to keep you engaged. And it's like, they've figured out that algorithm, the human algorithm. People like it when other people agree with their grievances, I guess is the way to put it. Well, that's kind of not, well, no, that's not a good way to put it. People like it when you validate their prejudices. There you go. Right. When you hate the same shit that they hate, and when you like the same things that they like. People like that. And, I'm not so arrogant to assume that I'm immune from this effect as well. You know, how many times do you watch? Have you ever watched, say, a movie or a review of a movie or a game or something, and gotten pissed at the guy because he said something you didn't agree with? You know, what are you talking about? That's the best game ever. What are you talking about? You know, Last Jedi sucked or whatever. You know what I mean? What are you talking about? Like, fucking Godzilla King of the Monsters is a great movie. Right? You know, it has an awesome plot that makes lots of sense, and King Kong versus Godzilla has no plot holes. What are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many times have you heard that and had that reaction yourself? I mean, I have. You know, I'm not immune to this effect. We all like that. We all like to tune in to people that agree with us, and when they say shit that we don't agree with, we like to tune out. And what feels best is when somebody hates the same shit that you hate. That, thank you for agreeing with me. You know what I mean? When you hear that. You hear somebody say, thank you, whenever they get some validation. And that's what people crave. People crave validation. You know, more so than anything else. That brings people back more than feel-good stories. It brings people back more than positive reinforcement does. You know, I guess it's just part of human nature, folks. You know, we all enjoy that 2 minutes hate, right? Anyway, it's all bullshit. I'm fucking tired as hell. I gotta end this. Plus, I gotta get up at fucking 7, so it's already 1 a.m. here, and I gotta end this, guys. Thank you all so much for sticking around so late. I see there are still a few people still watching. Thank you for hanging out with me until 1 in the morning here. This should have ended an hour ago. You guys are the best. Let's just do my ending stuff here before I call it a night. You know, before I start getting a little delirious. Plus, I'm thirsty as fuck. I ran out of water like an hour ago. I gotta get me something to drink. Anyway, if you like what I do and you want to help me out here and, you know, make me some money, if you want to support my work monetarily, you can check me out on my SD shop. Let me go ahead and turn on my window. This is my SD shop here. I sell prints and shit like that. If you like that, if you want to, you can see the videos. If you want to check out my other YouTube channel, this is my other YouTube channel. I review games and toys and that kind of thing. Been doing a lot of toy reviews recently. If you want to see more of my work, I have a webcomic. It is hawanja.com, fun for the whole stupid family. It's got ninjas. We'll have some new pages up pretty soon. And this is my DeviantArt site where you can see more of my artwork. All of my artwork that we do on the channel and in my everyday life usually makes its way up here. So please come check me out. All my other social medias, and I'll put all my social media links down in the description, you know, links to my Instagram and all that other bullshit, because I got to get better about promoting those things. So thank you guys for joining, really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me at a weird time without any prior announcement. Thank you, Lewis the Hedgehog, thank you, Sean Nillabud, thanks, Inshoma, and everybody else who stopped by tonight, really appreciate that. I will not be here this Saturday. I will be gone this Saturday. But I will be back the Saturday after that. And to make up for it, I'm going to see if I can stream at some point before next Saturday as well. Maybe on Wednesday night. I want to try to do 2 streams a week if possible. But for sure, I will be back Saturday, October 28th. Will most likely be my next stream. So, thank you guys again. Really appreciate it. And if I don't see you sooner than later, then I will see you on the 28th. Adios, everybody.